Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am JayLee. This is JLeesCorner. This is a quick little review for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion and also the Kevin Hart No Thanksgiving special that all came out this week. Okay, but the first things first, if you have not done so already, please come on to subscribe to my channel to become a whole JayBird, dun 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 dun, and all that goodness and stuff. Okay, do not forget to like, comment, and share this video. To also follow me on IG and on Twitter at J_Lees_Corner. You can always remember to breathe it on out. Okay, to inhale and to exhale. Okay, and to center yourself and everyone around you by relaxing, relating, and releasing, and all of that stuff and whatnot. Okay, now let's get to the review of it. So, for the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air 30-year reunion special that was on HBO Max, it was over an hour. I know that for a fact. And Will Smith also had added some parts on Red Table Talk about his conversation with original Aunt Viv or whatever. But the actual special, I felt like it was really good. I cried, okay, when they were talking about Uncle Phil. I cried when he was talking to Aunt Viv or whatever. It was very much so a fun-filled reminder of how great the show was, how much it broke barriers, and how much I feel like, I'm 38 years old. I don't know if while watching the show back when it was out, if I thought it was a great show then. I do know now I think it's a really, really good show now that I watch it back as an adult. Them having the whole crew back, at least people who are alive, basically, you know what I'm saying? Having, the replacement Aunt Viv, Carlton, Jeffrey, Ashley, Hillary, and everything, you know what I'm saying? Of course, having Jazz there too. I think it was a good way to reminisce about the good times. I felt like they took a long time not addressing Uncle Phil not being there, but when they got to that point, I think they waited because they knew it would be a heavy weight to bear, watching his scenes and all of that and talking about him in past tense. So again, I think it was done very well. I also wish they would have maybe even did a whole thing about showing people who were guest stars then who are great now. I think they had so many, Vivica Fox, Kim Fields, Don Cheadle, Tyra Banks. They had so many people on that show over the day long. Right, how did you not have Nia Long? Because Nia Long played our girl, only they be. But again, it was a really good thing to watch. I'm happy they put it out early. I felt like the world needed to get a little bit of enjoyment out of it all. Even each of them going through how they auditioned, how nervous they were, and all of that. When it was very emotional around the Uncle Phil part, with him not being here and them saying how he was kind of the heart of the show and how much he pushed them all to be their best selves. I think that was a great thing to go over. When they got to the whole part where Will, I know we had to kind of address this thing with, Aunt Viv or whatever, with Janet, and with them not knowing that he had talked to her the day before, and then them watching the footage of him and her have a conversation. I do feel like the conversation that they showed, it fit a narrative. It fit a narrative of something happened, we kind of addressed it, we kind of both moved on, and now there's just newness of us being able to at least communicate. I really feel like a lot wasn't said, but we then see more of it was on the Red Table Talk when he sat with whatever therapist they did, whatever, and then they watched it through and then talked about it a little more, and they showed more of what Janet was saying. For years, no one knew what really happened between Janet, the show, and Will, because it was always just, rumors this and rumors that, and then it was always more Janet dogging Will, for a long, long time. She also kind of dogged Alfonso Ribeiro, who played Carlton. She went at them a long time, for the past 30 years. And I feel like as great of a reunion special that this was, I really would have preferred if The Aunt Viv conversation was a separate special, and then we had the reunion special. I felt like not enough of it was addressed to have her there in some sort of way. I feel like, back in the day, it was rumored that she was fired from the show for being difficult. Will and I think Alfonso had said that she was difficult, back then. And then with them saying that, she then blamed them, really blamed Will, for the rest these past 27 to 30 years. She blamed him for everything that went wrong in her life all the time, and she vocally, dogs him out. So seeing her and Janet and Will have this conversation, this being the first time they had this conversation, and her asking, like, I just want to know why y'all went so far, like, why so far? I really feel like with the conversation, she did take accountability for the part she played. I think he did as well. I do think him saying, like, I don't know your story. You know what I'm saying? So I need to know, like, what your story was. And for her to go into how, she was in a bad marriage, she was in a bad abusive marriage, she had all these things going on in her home life that no one knew about, okay? And so because she was miserable at home on a set around in, season 2, season 3 of the show, she wasn't as friendly as she used to be. And because she wasn't as friendly as she used to be, Will then reacted to that. The thing that I find confusing is her being so upset with him for not being sensitive to what he did not even know was going on in her life. The whole thing, I was going through this and I was going through that, what I'm saying, and I was being abused and this about her ex-husband. But he didn't know that, so it wasn't as if he was being hard on her based on things he knew he didn't give no fuck. It was like, people always say you can't be miserable at home and bring that to your job life, and you then don't expect people to reciprocate that or return that energy. I also felt like with her being the elder in that situation, you can't expect a 21-year-old kid who has the world at his fingertips know how to properly handle life issues. I like how Will admitted, he wasn't as easy on her back then. Now that he's a 50-year-old man who's been married, divorced, and have children, he can see it now. And I think I felt like whoever was the powers that be to put all the power in Will's hands, that's who I blame. You know what I'm saying? Because why give him all this power that he did not know what to do with? You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not trying to, get him off the hook or whatever, but I feel like Janet has to take more of Janet has to be more responsible for the role that she played in it, because for her to say, like, I was, not nice on set, I wasn't talking to the cast, well, that then made them feel some kind of way. And when someone feels as if you don't like them, as Will said, I felt like she did not like me because of how she was acting towards us on the set. That then created the divide. And, her and how her family, disowned her, she had nothing in all of this. I felt like you can't then blame all of that on him. You know what I'm saying? I can imagine Will Smith being an asshole back then because, again, young kid from Philly, has the world at his fingertips or whatever, and he has all this power. And if someone isn't, stepping in line with what he wants to happen, he probably wasn't as easy. But I also feel like I wish she could have verbalized what she was going through and the reason that she was acting that way. Because you can't be mean to someone and get mad when they are mean back. You know what I'm saying? And now all these years later, for them both to accept they both played a role in it, I'm happy for that. But I still felt like she fully blamed him for everything that she's went through in the past 30 years, because you called me difficult as a black woman, and that was the kiss of death. True. Very, very true. You know what I'm saying? That's true. But at the end of the day, were you difficult? Because if you were difficult, then what he said wasn't not true. He just did not know why you were difficult. So I think that's one thing. And not only that, once she explained that it wasn't that she was fired, it was that they offered her a deal that she did not want to take, and she did not take it, so they replaced her. Which means she was not fired. She just chose to not have a job. I feel like, the whole thing of I was pregnant, had a baby, my husband was out of work. It was a bad situation. I could not afford to accept the deal they gave me. Well, it's like, yeah, but then you didn't really work much after that, and going forward, you mostly dogged the show and Will and them, so it made you seem difficult, even though you were just angry that they did not get what you were going through. So I really wish she could take more of account for the reason that some of these things happened, and the reason she did not work for years was not merely because Will and Alfonso called her difficult back then. It's because you then became difficult, and you seemed difficult because no one knew what was below the surface or whatever. So I am happy they both had the conversation. I'm happy they are both in a more positive space. I'm happy that she spoke her truth after all these years, but I don't fully blame Will Smith for ruining her career. I feel like she played a big part in that too, because my thing is, if somebody told me I'm difficult on a job and I choose to leave it because financially they did not offer me a good deal, cool, I'm gonna shut up real quick and then move on to the next thing, because I can't expect them to say that I'm difficult and then in the news and around the world I'm seeming to be difficult, but because I'm upset or whatever. So that was the whole thing. I also noted how they brought up how Alfonso wasn't around when Janet was around on set. Now, she said that he supposedly had to leave for work, and so that's why they were not there at the same time. People know that I don't know if Alfonso had a conversation with Janet, because Janet said things about him too. So I do feel like while he might not have refused to be around her, I also feel like if he was there that day and he wanted to wait for her, he would have. I think him and Janet just may need to have a separate conversation. Okay. Now, when Will was then on Red Table Talk with a little therapist lady, and everything, and they were chit-chatting and jaw-jacking, that I want my phone to go off again. I know it will. Because messages. When he was on Red Table Talking, they showed more of the conversation with him and Isaiah. Janet, she elaborated more about how she lost her house, all these things she lost, and how she just kind of blamed him for that. And even Will admitting that, because he felt like she didn't like him. He really needed, mommy's, love, because of the things that he went through in his own life growing up. That was why he reacted how he reacted. Again, he said, me at 21 years old, I was a baby, and I didn't do all the things that I should have done the right way then, and now I would do things completely different. But again, that's why I was saying he was a child back then, 21-year-old kid with all this new fame and power. So again, I felt like they both could have done things different, but I think it was still a great reunion special. I wish more shows would do these kind of specials. We don't need reboots all the time or whatnot, but I do feel like, just check in and bring up how great shows were and where people are now, to give them their flowers while they're here. Okay, so I love the special. I watched it twice because I wanted to be sure I caught it all, but again, it was really, really good. It was a great show. And even to know that, original Aunt Viv and, second Aunt Viv had never met before. You know what I'm saying? Daphne brought up how she had never met Janet, before the show or even after she took the role or whatever. But overall, if you have not watched it, it's a great watch. Go ahead and watch it. And now on to Kevin Hart. So I watched No Fucks Given. I feel like he gave some fucks. You think of a comedy special that you're doing at your house in the comfort of your own home, and you will really not give a fuck. But I feel like this is a very calculated, unedited, of a special. I also feel like Kevin Hart doesn't need to do any more specials. I feel like help other people get to the point of doing specials. I feel like there is nothing else Kevin Hart has to talk about as far as his wife and his ex-wife and his kids and all of that. I feel like I didn't laugh. No, I take that back. I laughed 3 times. I laughed when he talked about, the kids being surprised and not knowing what to do, going to an airport with their mama. I laughed at that. And it may have been like, I laughed at him saying, what was it called? The beaded butter. I giggled at that. It was not him. So I also said it wasn't, I'm not going to leave that be. But again, it wasn't really funny. It wasn't not funny. Like, I was still entertained. You know what I'm saying? I watched it all the way. No, I listened to it. I listened to it all the way through. But I felt like it's a lot of the same old. Your wife, your ex-wife, you know what I'm saying, and your kids, whatever, the whole I was cheating whole thing, whatever. I'm going to say I had old hoes, and all my old hoes have left me and all this or whatever. And I'm not that good at sex anymore because I'm older. Typical shit. But I'm like, none of that gave me no fucks given. I feel like if you were going to... Dave Chappelle special he did after the whole... what's it called, 846, that was no fucks given. You know what I'm saying? That was like, I'm gonna say what I want to say and let that be that. I feel like Kevin Hart sat and said, you know what, I'm gonna say these little things as jokes, and that means I don't care. And I'm like, it didn't land like it should have. Now, do I think it was a bad special? No, not at all. It just wasn't funny. And I am a Kevin Hart fan. I really, 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 really am. But I'm like, it just wasn't funny as it could have been. But it also wasn't not funny. People, I'm pretty sure a lot of people who watched it laughed. But some of us who watched it did not laugh. I feel like he wants to keep doing specials, but I'm not sure why. I think some of the best comedians have some of the best specials because they didn't do it too much. You know what I'm saying? You have to pick and choose how many specials you want to do. I'm not saying that he should stop doing comedy. I'm not saying that, but we don't need a new comedy special every year or two from Kevin Hart. You can retire the comedy special. Do movies. I like it when movies, you're funny in movies or whatever. I think he's become better at doing movies than his comedy because, again, it was the same old, same old. Kevin Hart was funnier in the beginning of his career because I think that's when he didn't get enough fuck. I think now that he has a corporation behind him and Kevin Hart is an entity. He employs people like he's a different level of comedian. He's more of a businessman, and so there's some things he can say, but there's more things that he can't say. So I think the reason I have an issue with this special is because you named it no fucks given. It was gonna be, it's the most. It wasn't. The fact that within the special he didn't crack not nan joke about the car accident, to me means you gave a fuck. Because and even the whole thing about him getting his butt wiped, I don't find that funny because he said that same thing this whole time. When he would do interviews, he kept bringing up how, I couldn't wipe my own butt and someone had to wipe my own butt. That's not funny to me because you said it multiple times. Okay, I think there should have been something like crack a joke about how it happened. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, it was a lot of chances I feel like he missed because he gave a fuck. And I'm just like, look, excuse me, if you do any more, if he want to do one more and then call it, you know what I'm saying, No More Pain, I don't know, because he had Laugh at My Pain. This last one could be called No More Pain or The Pain's Over or whatever, I don't know. But I don't, and he would have to not discuss anything he's already discussed. Okay, my thing is, with as much shit going on in the world, how could you not make comedy out of that? It's a whole pandemic of 2020 and you still talking about your kids. I was just like, I just cannot do it. I don't see I may watch it one more time only because I've only listened to it one time, and I fully listened to it with my headphones on. I was focused on it as well, but I was like, it wasn't. And that was really it. That was all I gave to it. But I mean, if you haven't watched it, and you are a Kevin Hart fan, I do suggest you do watch it. If you are not a Kevin Hart fan, you're not gonna laugh. You're gonna say it's a bunch of bullshit. And I feel like, it was a little bit of bunch of bullshit. But again, I wasn't bored. I was entertained enough to watch the thing all the way through. But again, I laughed maybe 3 times. It may have just been twice. One was really hard laugh too. I think it was a joke about the kids and the mama. I think that's the one time I was like, oh, no, that was funny. But that was something new. You know what I'm saying? But he was also bringing up how he's been getting like some people don't like it, and they've been real vocal about not liking it. And he said how, some people won't like it, some people won't. True. So I don't see why you spoke about that, Kevin. But Kevin also brought up how people were complaining that he had a little onesie on his new daughter that said, no fucks because the name of the thing. And he's a horrible parent. Look like now y'all doing too much. Don't put 20 on 10 trying to dog this special. It wasn't a bad special. It just did not fit the criteria of a funny, unfiltered, no fucks given thing of him doing something at his house. You made your living room a comedy room, and it wasn't that much comedy. So, I'm gonna let that be. But anyway, that's all I got, y'all. I will talk to y'all later. Peace.